I finally bought my own apartment after years of working and saving. My sister said it was too good for me. I brushed it off until she planned a family intervention to force me out, so I called the police. I'm 29 and I've been dealing with what I now realize is verbal abuse disguised as humor from my younger sister Jennifer, 27 female, for years. It all came to a head when I finally moved into my dream apartment 6 months ago. Let me give you some background. Jennifer and I grew up in a middle-class family where she was always the golden child. Straight A's, popular, the whole package. I was the quiet one who spent too much time reading and playing video games. Our parents, David and Patricia, always laughed at Jennifer's witty observations about me calling her their little comedian. What they called wit, I now recognize as years of subtle put-downs that chipped away at my self-esteem. I worked my ass off after college, landing a job as a software developer at a tech startup. After 5 years of saving and careful planning, I finally bought a 2-bedroom apartment in a nice part of the city. It's nothing extravagant, just a clean, modern space with hardwood floors, big windows, and a view of the park. I spent months choosing furniture, artwork, and decorations that reflected my personality. For the first time in my life, I had a space that was truly mine. The first time Jennifer visited, she walked in with our parents for what was supposed to be a celebratory dinner. Her initial reaction was a long, dramatic sigh, followed by, "Well, this is certainly ambitious for someone like you, Michael." Our mother laughed. Our father chuckled and ruffled my hair like I was still 12. Throughout dinner, Jennifer kept making comments. "This dining table is gorgeous. Shame it's wasted on someone who probably just eats takeout." When I showed them my home office with its carefully organized bookshelves and dual monitor setup, she smirked and said, "Look at you pretending to be a real adult. How cute." Every single remark was delivered with that same patronizing smile, and every single time our parents treated it like comedy gold. The thing is, I'm proud of what I've accomplished. I worked hard for this apartment. I chose every piece of furniture with care. I even took an online interior design course to make sure everything flowed together. But sitting there watching my family laugh at Jennifer's jokes, I felt like that awkward teenager again, the one who was never quite good enough. After they left, I found myself second-guessing everything. Was my apartment too nice for someone like me? Was I just playing pretend? It took me days to shake off that feeling, and I realized this pattern had been going on for years. Every achievement, every milestone, every small victory was met with Jennifer's cutting humor and our parents' enabling laughter. Last week was the breaking point. Jennifer texted saying she wanted to bring her friend Emily, who's an interior designer, to see my place. I thought maybe she was finally being supportive. How naive could I be? They showed up unannounced on a Saturday morning while I was still in my pajamas drinking coffee. "Oh, good, you're awake," Jennifer said, breezing past me with Emily in tow. "I told Emily about your situation and she agreed to help out of pity. Isn't that sweet?" I stood there, coffee mug in hand, trying to process what was happening. Emily looked uncomfortable but followed Jennifer as she started critiquing every single thing in my apartment. "This couch is too sophisticated for Michael. He needs something more basic. And these art pieces, please. He probably just bought whatever was on sale without understanding what they mean." The worst part was that she was live streaming the whole thing to our family group chat. I could see the notifications popping up on my phone, laugh emojis from Mom, Dad saying, "Jenny's so funny." My aunt chimed in with, "She's just trying to help." I finally found my voice. "Jennifer, stop. This is my home, and I don't need your help or your friend's pity." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. We both know you're in over your head here. This apartment is too good for you and everyone knows it. I'm just being honest." How many times had I heard that excuse? Jennifer's just being honest. She tells it like it is. "You're too sensitive, Michael." I asked them to leave. Jennifer made a big show of being hurt that I was rejecting her help, but they finally left. Within minutes, my phone was blowing up. Mom called upset that I had been rude to my sister when she was just trying to help. Dad texted saying I should apologize for overreacting. Various relatives weighed in, all taking Jennifer's side. I spent the rest of the day in my apartment looking around at everything I had built for myself. Every piece told a story. The vintage lamp I found at an estate sale, the abstract painting I bought from a local artist whose work spoke to me, the shelves I built myself to display my collection of first-edition science fiction novels. This wasn't some fake life or me playing pretend. This was me, authentically me, creating a space where I could finally breathe. But the doubt creeps in. Maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe Jennifer is just trying to help in her own twisted way. Maybe I should just laugh along like everyone else does. It would certainly be easier than constantly feeling like I'm the problem for not finding emotional abuse amusing. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to cut contact, but that would mean losing my relationship with my parents too, since they clearly don't see anything wrong with Jennifer's behavior. Part of me wants to confront them all, but I know how that will go. I'll be labeled as dramatic, unable to take a joke, too sensitive. For now, I'm sitting in my too good for me apartment, trying to remind myself that I deserve good things, that working hard and achieving success doesn't mean I'm pretending to be a real adult, that wanting a nice home isn't ambitious for someone like me. But damn, it's hard when your own family thinks you're a joke. Update 1 2 weeks later. Well, the situation has escalated in ways I didn't expect. After my post, I took some time to reflect on the advice I received and decided to try setting boundaries with my family. I sent a carefully worded message to our family group chat, explaining that while I appreciate humor, comments about my apartment and life choices were hurtful and I'd appreciate if they stopped. The response was predictable. Jennifer immediately replied with face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. Someone's sensitive today. Mom added, honey, you know your sister doesn't mean anything by it. Dad just sent a gif of someone rolling their eyes. But here's where it gets interesting. Jennifer started what she calls her helpful suggestions campaign. Apparently my boundary setting was interpreted as a cry for help, and she's taken it upon herself to guide me toward more appropriate living arrangements. She's been sending me Zillow listings daily, not for nice apartments. Oh no. She's sending me studio apartments in sketchy neighborhoods, always with comments like, this seems more your speed or found the perfect place for you. Even has bars on the windows to keep you safe from the big scary world. Last Tuesday, she showed up at my building with printed listings. The security guard called up to ask if I was expecting her. I said no, but she somehow convinced him she was there for a family emergency. She knocked on my door for 15 minutes while sliding printed apartment listings under it. Each one had handwritten notes. This one's only 400 square feet. Perfect since you don't have friends to entertain. Look, this one's next to a McDonald's. Convenient for your sophisticated palate. Ground floor with no view. Ideal for someone who doesn't appreciate aesthetics. Anyway, I didn't open the door. I sat on my couch listening to her eventually give up and leave, then collected the papers. Part of me wanted to laugh at the absurdity, but mostly I felt tired, exhausted by the constant need to defend my existence. The next day, she recruited our cousin Ashley to her cause. Ashley, who's always been Jennifer's flying monkey, started texting me about how she heard I was struggling with adulting and maybe I should consider Jennifer's suggestions. She just wants what's best for you, Ashley wrote. Not everyone can handle nice things. I blocked Ashley. Then came the family dinner invitation. Mom called, not texted, which meant she was serious. We need to have a family discussion about your situation, she said. When I asked what situation, she sighed dramatically. Jennifer's worried about you, honey. We all are. This apartment thing, we think you might be in over your head financially and too proud to admit it. I tried to explain that I was fine financially, that I had budgeted carefully, that I even had a healthy emergency fund. Mom cut me off. There's no shame in admitting you made a mistake, Michael. Jennifer found some lovely, modest places that would be much more suitable. Suitable. That word stuck with me. Suitable for whom, for what they think I deserve. I declined the dinner invitation. This led to my father calling me stubborn and ungrateful. He actually said, your sister is taking time out of her busy schedule to help you, and this is how you repay her. The thing is, I started documenting everything, every text, every listing, every comment. I have a folder now titled Evidence of Crazy, because when I look at it all together, the pattern is undeniable. This isn't concern or help or even misguided humor. This is a coordinated effort to make me feel small, to put me back in what they consider my place. Yesterday, I ran into my neighbor Robert while getting mail. He mentioned that a young woman had been asking about me, claiming to be my sister, and expressing concern about whether I could afford to live here. She apparently told him she was worried I was living beyond my means and asked if he'd noticed any signs of financial distress. Robert, bless him, told her that I seemed to be doing just fine and perhaps she should mind her own business. The violation of privacy, the attempt to embarrass me with my neighbors, the sheer audacity of it all, it's breathtaking. But what hurts most is the gaslighting. When I confronted Jennifer via text about talking to my neighbors, she responded with, I'm just looking out for you. Sorry for caring, followed by a face with rolling eyes, then immediately messages in the family chat about how I'm attacking her for being a concerned sister. I've started looking into therapy, not because I think I'm crazy, but because I need strategies to deal with people who are actively trying to make me feel that way. I need to learn how to maintain my sense of reality when my entire family is committed to distorting it. My apartment has become my sanctuary now more than ever. Every morning I make coffee and stand by my window looking out at the park, reminding myself that I earned this view, that I deserve this space, that no amount of helpful suggestions can take away what I've built for myself. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't wearing me down. Update 2, 1 month later. The situation has reached levels of absurdity I couldn't have imagined. After weeks of Jennifer's helpful suggestions campaign failing to make me move to a studio apartment in a bad neighborhood, she decided to escalate to what I can only describe as guerrilla interior design warfare. It started 3 weeks ago when she announced in the family group chat that she had arranged for a consultation with not 1 but 3 interior designers as a birthday gift for me. My birthday was 4 months ago. When I pointed this out, she responded that good design is timeless, unlike your current choices. I immediately messaged her privately, stating clearly that I did not want this consultation and would not be allowing any designers into my home. Her response was, already paid for it. Would be such a waste of money. But I guess you're used to wasting things like the potential of that beautiful space. The family predictably rallied behind her. Mom called it such a thoughtful gesture. Dad said I should be grateful someone cares enough to help. Even my Aunt Linda, who usually stays out of family drama, chimed in with free professional advice. Lucky me. I held firm. I told Jennifer that if she showed up with designers, I wouldn't let them in. She said, "We'll see about that," followed by a smiling face with smiling eyes emoji. And that emoji felt more threatening than any angry message could have. Last Monday, I was working from home when my doorbell rang. The video intercom showed Jennifer with three well-dressed women holding tablets and measuring tapes. I didn't answer. She had a key to the building from when I was sick last year and needed someone to check on me, a decision I deeply regret now. So, they made it to my door. The knocking started pleasant enough. "Michael, your design team is here," Jennifer sang out. When I didn't respond, the knocking got louder. Then came the running commentary, clearly for the benefit of the designers. "He's probably embarrassed about the state of things in there. Michael's always been insecure about his taste. I've been trying to help him for months, but he's too proud. His place looks like a bachelor pad trying too hard to be sophisticated." I put on noise-canceling headphones and tried to work, but I could still hear muffled voices in the hallway. This went on for 45 minutes. Finally, building security came up because other residents had complained about the noise. I watched on the intercom as Jennifer tried to explain to the security guard that this was a family intervention, and she was concerned about her brother's living situation. The security guard who had seen Jennifer's antics before told her she needed to leave or he'd call the police. As they left, I heard one of the designers say, "This is the most uncomfortable job I've ever taken. You'd think that would be the end of it. You'd be wrong." The next day, Jennifer started a social media campaign. She posted on Instagram, Facebook, and even LinkedIn about the importance of helping family members who are too proud to ask for help. She didn't mention me by name, but the photos she used were from that first dinner at my apartment, carefully cropped to show my furniture with captions like, "When you see loved ones struggling with adulting, and sometimes tough love means staging an intervention." My phone exploded with messages from mutual friends and distant relatives. "Is Michael okay? I had no idea he was having troubles. Your sister is such a caring person." I spent hours doing damage control explaining that I was fine, my apartment was fine, and no, I didn't need an intervention of any kind. Then came the masterpiece of manipulation. Jennifer created a PowerPoint presentation. Yes, you read that right. A full PowerPoint presentation titled, "Helping Michael Transition to Appropriate Living." She sent it to our entire extended family and several family friends. The presentation included photos of my apartment with arrows pointing out problems like art, too abstract for his comprehension level, Zillow listings for studio apartments with pros like less space to clean and harder to mess up, decorating a timeline of my decline, starting with when I got my job and started thinking he was better than he is, testimonials from family members, about times they were concerned about my choices, a financial breakdown of how much money I could save by moving somewhere more suitable. The most infuriating slide was titled, "Signs Your Loved One is Living Beyond Their Emotional Means," with bullet points like owns furniture from actual stores, not hand-me-downs, has artwork on walls, trying too hard, uses coasters, pretentious behavior, owns more than one set of sheets, unnecessary luxury. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This wasn't just about my apartment anymore. This was about my entire existence being too much for what my family thought I deserved. My Uncle Mark, who's always been the voice of reason in our family, finally spoke up in the group chat. "This seems excessive, Jennifer. Michael's a grown man with a good job." Jennifer's response. "Uncle Mark, with all due respect, you don't see what I see. I'm his sister. I know when he's in over his head." The presentation made its way to some of my coworkers through LinkedIn. My manager pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay at home. I had to explain that my family was complicated. He looked at me with such pity that I wanted to crawl under my desk. But here's where things took an unexpected turn. One of the interior designers from Jennifer's ambush attempt reached out to me privately. Her name is Sarah, and she was mortified by the whole situation. She said she had no idea what she was walking into and wanted to apologize. We had coffee, and she told me that in her professional opinion, my apartment was beautifully decorated and showed a clear personal aesthetic and attention to detail. She also told me that Jennifer had been bad-mouthing me to them for the entire car ride, saying things like, "He's always been the family disappointment, and we're just trying to help him face reality." The other designers were so uncomfortable, they refused Jennifer's payment and left negative reviews on her profiles. This validation from a stranger, a professional in the field Jennifer was using as a weapon against me, meant more than I can express. Sarah even offered to write a statement about my apartment's design if I ever needed it for whatever family insanity might come next. I've started seeing a therapist who specializes in family dynamics and emotional abuse. In our first session, when I showed her the PowerPoint presentation, she actually gasped. "This is..." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "One of the most elaborate displays of familial undermining I've seen. She's helping me understand that this isn't about my apartment. It's about control. It's about keeping me in the role my family assigned me years ago. The awkward one, the one who doesn't quite measure up, the one who should be grateful for whatever scraps of approval they throw my way. I've changed my locks, informed building security that Jennifer is not to be allowed up without my explicit permission, and I'm looking into legal options for harassment because that's what this is, harassment. My apartment remains my sanctuary, but now it's also become my battleground. Every day I stay here, every day I wake up in my too-good-for-me bedroom and make breakfast in my trying-too-hard kitchen is a small act of rebellion. I'm done trying to make them see reason. I'm done explaining myself. I'm done feeling guilty for building a life they didn't expect me to have. But I'm not done fighting for it. Update 3 months later. I thought I'd seen the worst of Jennifer's campaign to help me, but the past few weeks have shown me that rock bottom has a basement. However, I'm also happy to report that this update ends very differently than the others, with actual consequences and a resolution I never thought possible. It started when Jennifer discovered this Reddit thread. I'm not sure how. Maybe she was searching for validation online, or someone who knows us both recognized the story. Either way, she was livid. She screenshotted everything and sent it to the family group chat with the caption, "Look what Michael's been saying about us to strangers on the internet." The family response was swift and predictable. I was called ungrateful, dramatic attention-seeking, and my personal favorite from my mother, airing our family's private business to the world. The irony of this statement, given Jennifer's social media campaign and PowerPoint presentation, was apparently lost on everyone. Jennifer demanded I delete the posts. When I refused, she said, "Fine. If you want to act like you're being victimized, I'll show you what real concern looks like." What followed was 2 weeks of escalating behavior that my therapist called an extinction burst, the phenomenon where someone ramps up their negative behavior when their usual tactics stop working. First, she contacted my landlord. She actually found his information and called him to express concern that I might be subletting rooms to afford the rent. She suggested he might want to investigate whether I was violating my lease. My landlord, who's known me for 2 years and has never had a single issue, called me immediately. He was professional, but clearly annoyed at having his time wasted. He also mentioned that impersonating a concerned citizen to make false reports could be considered harassment. Next, she tried to involve my workplace. She didn't contact them directly. Even Jennifer has some limits, but she did start showing up at the coffee shop near my office during lunch hours, hoping to run into my coworkers. She managed to corner 2 of them, expressing how worried she was about my mental state and how I was living in a fantasy world. One of those coworkers, Kevin, came to me immediately. "Dude, your sister is intense," he said. "She spent 20 minutes telling me about how you're living beyond your means and the family is planning an intervention." I had to have an awkward conversation with my manager about my family situation. Thankfully, my work has been stellar, and my manager assured me that my personal life wasn't their concern as long as it didn't affect my performance. But the final straw came 3 weeks ago. Jennifer announced she was organizing a family intervention at my apartment. Not asking, announcing. She convinced our parents that my online behavior and refusal to accept help were signs of a serious problem that required immediate action. She had it all planned. She'd used the building key to let everyone in. She'd made copies. Apparently, they'd be waiting when I got home from work. She'd hired a life coach to mediate. The interior designers would be there to show me affordable alternatives. She even arranged for a moving truck to be on standby in case I came to my senses during the intervention. I found out about this plan because my cousin Emily, who'd been added to the planning group chat by mistake, forwarded me the messages. Reading through their discussions about me like I was a problem to be solved rather than a person was surreal. Mom worried about what to bring for snacks. Dad debated whether they should change my locks for my own good. Jennifer had assigned everyone roles like this was some kind of military operation. That's when I decided enough was enough. I took a day off work and consulted with a lawyer. Turns out, I had grounds for a restraining order based on the harassment, the false reports to my landlord, and the planned forced entry into my apartment. The lawyer also said Jennifer making copies of my building key without permission was illegal. I then called the police non-emergency line and explained the situation. They took it seriously, especially the part about a group of people planning to enter my apartment without my consent. They said it sounded like planned breaking and entering family or not. On the day of the planned intervention, I wasn't at work. I was at home with my lawyer, 2 police officers, and my landlord, who was there to change the locks. I also had Sarah, the interior designer, who'd reached out to me there as a witness to Jennifer's previous behavior. At 5:30 p.m., right on schedule, I watched on my new security camera as Jennifer led a parade of family members to my door. She tried her key. It didn't work. The confusion on her face was almost comical. She tried again. Then she started knocking. "Michael, open up. We know you're in there." I let her knock for exactly 2 minutes, my lawyer's suggestion, before opening the door with the chain on. The look of triumph on Jennifer's face morphed into shock when she saw the police officers behind me. "What's going on?" she demanded. The officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, we've been informed that you're attempting to enter this residence without permission. We need you and your group to leave the premises immediately." The family erupted. Mom started crying about how I was doing this to hurt them. Dad accused me of being manipulative. The life coach looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. The interior designers, different ones this time, were already backing away. Jennifer, though, doubled down. "This is my brother. I have every right to help him. He's clearly having some kind of breakdown." My lawyer stepped into view. "Actually, Miss Jennifer, you don't have any right to enter his home without permission. We have documentation of your harassment over the past several months, and if you don't leave immediately, we'll be filing for an emergency restraining order." That's when Jennifer made her biggest mistake. She lunged forward, trying to push past me into the apartment. The officers immediately intervened, and she was arrested for attempted breaking and entering and assault. The family watched in stunned silence as Jennifer was led away in handcuffs, screaming about how I was ruining everything and needed help. The life coach muttered something about not being paid enough for this and left. The interior designers were already gone. My parents stood there looking between me and the police car driving away with their daughter. Finally, my mother spoke. "How could you do this to your sister?" "I didn't do anything to her," I said, finding my voice steady and calm. "I just stopped letting her do things to me." My father started to speak, but my lawyer cut him off with information about the restraining order we'd be filing and a warning about further harassment. They left looking older and smaller than I'd ever seen them. The restraining order was granted. Jennifer was given community service and mandatory therapy. She's not allowed within 500 feet of me or my home. The family is split. Some think I went too far. Others, like Uncle Mark and Cousin Emily, have reached out to say they're proud of me for standing up for myself. My parents haven't spoken to me since that day. They communicate through other family members saying they'll talk to me when I apologize to Jennifer and get help for my issues. I've made peace with the possibility that that day might never come. My apartment is quieter now. The constant anxiety about when Jennifer might show up or what new scheme she might concoct is gone. I've been working with my therapist on understanding why my family needed me to stay small, why my success threatened them so much. Last week, I hosted a dinner party for some friends and coworkers. As I watched people enjoying themselves in my space, complimenting my home, treating me with respect and genuine friendship, I realized something. This is what normal feels like. This is what I'd been missing. Jennifer was wrong. This apartment isn't too good for me. If anything, I'm finally growing into the person who deserves it, someone who sets boundaries, stands up for himself, and doesn't apologize for building a good life. The family WhatsApp group still exists, but I've muted it. Sometimes I look at it, see them discussing Jennifer's unfair treatment or my cruelty, and I feel a twinge of sadness. But then I look around my apartment, my sanctuary, my achievement, my home, and I remember that the price of their approval was always going to be my self-worth. That's a price I'm no longer willing to pay. Final update, 6 months later. I wasn't planning on updating again, but something happened last week that felt like the perfect epilogue to this whole saga. I was at the farmer's market enjoying a Saturday morning when I heard a familiar voice. My stomach dropped as I turned to see my mother, Patricia, standing a few feet away. She was alone, looking older and tired in a way I'd never noticed before. We stood there for a moment, frozen in time. Then she spoke. "Hello, Michael." "Hi, Mom." She glanced at my bags. "Fresh flowers, artisan bread, some fancy cheese I'd been wanting to try." "Shopping for your apartment?" "Yes." She nodded slowly. "I drove by it last week. Your building. It really is in a nice area." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just waited. "Your father doesn't know I'm here," she continued. "He's at golf. I just needed some air." We moved to a nearby bench, sitting with careful distance between us. For a few minutes, we just watched people pass by, families, couples, dogs, normal life happening around us. "Jennifer's been in therapy," she said finally. "Court-ordered, but still. She's been saying things about how we treated you growing up." I remained silent. "The therapist wanted to do a family session. Your father refused, said there was nothing wrong with how we raised you both. But I've been thinking." She trailed off, twisting her wedding ring. "Did we really make you feel like you weren't good enough?" "Yes," I said simply. "You did." She flinched, but didn't deny it. "Jennifer was always so bright, so confident. You were quiet. And I guess we thought you needed toughening up. We thought her teasing would help you come out of your shell. It wasn't teasing, Mom. It was cruel." And you laughed along. Tears were rolling down her cheeks now. "I know. I mean, I'm starting to know. The therapist, she showed us videos about family dynamics, about scapegoating, about abuse. That word hung between us, heavy and final." "Your apartment," she said suddenly. "Jennifer showed us pictures from that first dinner. She made fun of everything. But I remember thinking how nice it looked, how proud you must have been. And instead of saying that I laughed when she called it too good for you, why, I asked, genuinely curious. Why was it so hard to just be happy for me?" She was quiet for so long I thought she wouldn't answer, because if you didn't need us to tell you who you were anymore, what was our role? If you weren't our awkward Michael who needed guidance, who were you? Who were we? It was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. "I'm still Michael," I said. "I'm just not the version of Michael you created. I'm the version I chose to be." We sat there for another few minutes. She asked about my job, my friends, my life. I gave short but honest answers. When she stood to leave, she paused. "I'd like to see your apartment again someday. Really see it this time, without Jennifer, without your father. Just to see what you've built." "Maybe someday," I said, and I meant it. "But not yet." She nodded, understanding. "I'm proud of you," she said quietly. "I know that doesn't fix anything, but I wanted you to know." After she left, I sat on that bench for a while longer, processing. Then I went home to my apartment, my beautiful, perfect-for-me apartment, and arranged the flowers I'd bought in a vase on my dining table. My therapist says healing isn't linear. Some days I'm angry, some days I'm sad. Some days, like that day, I feel something like hope. Not hope for reconciliation necessarily, but hope that maybe, just maybe, some people can grow. Jennifer's restraining order is still in effect. She's blocked on everything, and I hear through the family grapevine that she's struggling with the idea that her behavior was wrong. My father still refuses to acknowledge any wrongdoing. Some family members have quietly reached out to rebuild connections. Others maintain I'm the villain, but here's the thing, I'm okay with all of it. My life is full now. I have friends who celebrate my wins instead of diminishing them. I have a therapist who helps me navigate the complicated emotions. I have a home that reflects who I am not, who others think I should be. Last month, I got promoted to senior developer. My first thought wasn't what will my family say, but I earned this. That mental shift, that freedom from seeking approval that was never going to come, that's worth more than any apartment. To anyone reading this who's dealing with similar family dynamics, your achievements aren't too good for you. Your happiness isn't showing off. Your boundaries aren't cruel. You deserve the life you build for yourself. And anyone who tries to convince you otherwise, even family, especially family, is telling you more about their own limitations than yours. My apartment is still my sanctuary, but now it's also just my home, a place where I live, work, laugh with friends, and exist without apology. The view from my window is still beautiful, but the view from where I'm standing in life, that's even better. Thank you to everyone who followed this journey. Your support meant more than you know during some very dark moments. I'm signing off now not because the story is over, but because it's evolved into something better, a life lived on my own terms. And yes, that life is good enough for me.